Hi everyone. Please pause and read everything. I won't read everything for you. I'll read some of it. But this video is about nations and genealogies. Do they really matter? And this was because a while back, with the war in Ukraine, it had to do with some commenters who were telling others that if they didn't like the U.S., that they should move to Russia, and they hoped that these people would die just because they disagreed with them. And so our video is titled Nations and Genealogies, Do They Matter? And I'd really appreciate if you guys would pause and mute the video so you could read everything and maybe get a clearer picture of what is really said. Now, honestly, you should read the Bible front to back to get a better idea of what is really being said. And I stopped listening to preachers, teachers, bishops, whatever you want to call them, a long time ago, and decided I needed to read it for myself. And being able to homeschool actually helped give me that larger than life picture and have those aha moments of those things that didn't always make sense to me. I'm not saying that I get everything. I don't. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I thought it would be really interesting to do this because, you know, we had people when Trump and Hillary Clinton were running. If you don't remember, there were many people who said they were going to leave the country if Trump got in. That never came about. They're still here. Why? Because they didn't mean it, and in reality they're probably real good friends with Trump, and we're just a stupid goyim that don't know anything. Let's see. Genesis 9:1, and God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Not just nations here and there, but the earth. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and tower, whose top may reach into heaven, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. Didn't God tell them to go and multiply, to replenish the earth? Sounds like, again, they weren't doing what they were told. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. I find that really interesting, because during that first book, actually, it says to replenish the earth. It's not talking about this nation, the Hebrews. It's not talking about Edomites. Of course, that came from Esau's line. But it's not talking about any of the children personally at that time. God is telling all of them to go and multiply and replenish the earth. And I'm guessing because they didn't do those things, then we had all this other stuff happen. And then when, there's always consequences. And, as a parent, if you tell your child not to do something because it's going to hurt them, and they do it anyway, well, you might give them, a little talking to, put them in a corner or something. But then if they do it again, you give them a swat on the butt or something like that. And, because you don't want to see them hurt. Well, we see this throughout the scriptures. God's always having to punish his people. He loves us, but there always has to be consequences for things that we do, whether it be good or bad. If you have a child that is always doing what is right, then you're going to reward them. And when not doing so, then you're going to take things away. It's no different than what God did to, those that listen to him. Genesis 13:9, is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. So Abraham is telling Lot, hey, whatever land you want, that's fine with me, and I'll take the other. So it wouldn't cause contention between the families. Excuse me, guys. And they took him and cast... Okay, so now we're at Jacob, right? Lots of brothers. They couldn't stand him because Jacob loved Joseph best because of who his mother was. That's going to cause contention. So, kind of dad's fault there, why the other sons didn't really like the two younger brothers. And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Oh yeah, let's just go sell him now. Then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt. Once again, having to leave the land that you were born into and going into another unknown land. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard. So we see time and time again God's people having to leave the land they were born into to go into another land that, they themselves, the children may not know at all. And, we can look back on our own histories, right? We aren't from this particular country, as in, our ancestors. They were born in other countries and they came over here for a better life. Well, were they traitors to their country because they came over here? I mean, that's what basically what these people that were commenting were basically saying. You're a traitor because you're born here, but yet you're going to say that, your government's not doing this right, or the government's lying. And so, just by you saying that, you're a traitor. Really? Our ancestors, if you live in the United States, all of our ancestors are from other countries, which by, those statements, they would all be traitors to the country, the nations that they were born into. Do you see how silly that is? One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Stranger. See, the law was for not just the Hebrews, the Israelites, but for the stranger as well. Whoever follows the God that created us all. And they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils, after whom they have gone a whoring. This shall be a statute forever unto them throughout their generations. And thou shalt say unto them, whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers which sojourn among you, that offereth a burnt offering or sacrifice, and bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation to offer unto the Lord, even that man shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, that eateth any manner of blood, I will even set my face against that soul that eateth blood, and will cut him off from among his people. So, Israelites, if they thought that they were God's chosen people, you better think again. Because if you were doing something that offended God and He told you not to do, then you were going to be cut off. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, He's perfect in all ways. So it doesn't matter in reality what your background is. And if a stranger sojourneth with thee in your land, ye shall not vex him. But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself. For ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Strangers. So we sometimes forget that, we might be the stranger and not the one born into a family or a particular nation. Here we see in Judges, how Israel is constantly sinning. It's never ending, just never ending. Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." Ruth 1:16. She was a Moabite, remember? And if you hear the Hebrews throughout scriptures, they weren't to have anything to do with many, many, many nations. And already we should know that God chooses who He's going to choose to get a message, and that there are people out there who love Him and who are of many nations. Remember, Abraham was father of many, many nations. So I just found all these different scriptures really interesting, talking about different people throughout history that we weren't to have anything to do with, but yet He raised, these people up for a reason. Look, Solomon, he had a child that became king, and Solomon was married to, had many, many wives and concubines, and they were all pagan. And I don't think there was one king after Solomon that was really a good man. Did it have to do with his pagan wives? Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. 13. And I will stretch over Jerusalem the line of Samaria and the plummet of the house of Ahab, and I will wipe Jerusalem as a man wipeth a dish, wiping it and turning it upside down. And I will forsake the remnant of mine inheritance, and deliver them into the hand of their enemies, and they shall become a prey and a spoil to their enemies, because they have done that which was evil in my sight, and have provoked me to anger since the day their fathers came forth out of Egypt, even unto this day. Moreover, Manasseh shed innocent blood very much, till he had filled Jerusalem from one end to another beside his sin. You guys, this just goes on and on. So, the question again, do the nations we were born in and genealogies really matter? Let's continue. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries, whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. I personally, my opinion only, think that means that we will come back into His fold. Okay? course, that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to my opinion. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. Mary and Joseph, they took Jesus into Egypt to save him. I guess they were traitors because all the other children around 2 years old ended up dying, right? So because they escaped it, they were probably considered traitors. I don't know. Acts chapter 10. Immediately therefore I sent to thee, and thou hast well done that thou art come. Now therefore are we all here present before God, to hear all things that are commanded thee of God. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, Of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons. Important. So if he's no respecter of persons, then why would he be a respecter of nations when a nation is full of people? Tribulation and anguish open every soul of man that doeth evil of the Jew first, and also of the Gentile. See? The Jews get it first because they were the ones who followed first. But glory and honor and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first, and also to the Gentile, for everyone. For there is no respect of persons with God. I just hope that everyone is kind of seeing what I'm trying to say, and it would do you well to pause the video so that you can read everything and not just hear me yap. As I besought thee to abide still at Ephesus when I went into Macedonia, that thou mightest charge some that they teach no other doctrine, neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies. See? That being justified by his grace, we should be made heirs according to the hope of eternal life. This is a faithful saying, and these things I will that thou affirm constantly, that they which have believed in God might be careful to maintain good works. These things are good and profitable unto men, but avoid foolish questions, and genealogies, and contentions, and strivings about the law, for they are unprofitable and vain. He's basically, to me, he's saying, don't worry about who your forefathers are. Let's be frank. Some may not be good people, but I think what it's really saying is, yes, have good relationships with your family, but not everyone's going to see eye to eye. Okay, look. Democratic lawmaker, Representative Crow, warns Americans enemies could use DNA tests to kill them. This was July 24th, you guys. Many months after the war in Ukraine started. And Russia was already saying, way back at the beginning of the year, that they were finding these biolabs and thought that they were being targeted, genetically targeted. So, is our government trying to cover up something? Maybe more and more people are figuring out, what's really going on, and now they're covering their butt. I kind of go with that, but I don't know. I could be wrong about that. But I've read too much and know that there are things I've come across and I thought was interesting and could all be linked to this video. And the DNA, matter of fact, Crow was talking about, like those DNA, Ancestry.com, 23andMe. They're collecting our DNA. Every time you guys take a test, they're collecting your DNA. And let me just say this. Our government, the United States government, has been doing terrible experiments on the American people for many decades. You don't think they're going to do something like that with our DNA and try to blame someone else. I mean, I don't know what else to say. There are other people out there who speak better than I do, and get information out in such a way that attracts people. But I know that I need to do this in any way that God wants to use me. And unfortunately, I think He's going to bring out my sarcastic side a bit, and don't let that offend you. I've always been that way since I was a young child, and if that's how He's going to use me, then so be it. I don't know. I'm just showing you guys information, and if you're coming from a biblical standpoint, does it really matter what nation you were born in and who you were born to? By the way, this book by Eustace Mullins is good, very interesting. I will see about putting a link if you want to download the free ebook for that. Alright guys, well maybe this is more about two select nations, one being God's children, His seed, and the second being the devil's seed. I have some more verses here for you guys to look over and read and see what you think about all of that, but I'm going to go ahead and get off of here because I have to edit this video, and if I think my voice is annoying to listen to, I'm pretty sure that you guys must think the same. Good night to all of you. Happy birthday to the birthday girl out there. If you're listening, I love you guys all. Have a good night. Bye.